love the school, and amazing things happen because when you ask and you let them know that there's a need, people will come out and say, here, this is what I want to do for you. I don't want any credit. I don't want anybody else to know. Put this money on a lunch account. I want to support this kiddo. It's just amazing what
Yeah.
people want to do and the programs that they support. So even in other school districts where, maybe a program like music isn't going to go, we have people who want to support and make sure that we still have a music teacher and that we can still have band and choir because they just don't want to see music die, which I think is great. And I think is a good thing. And sometimes it's a hard thing, but in a small community, everybody knows everybody. So if you're in need, they're there to help. But I always tell the kids, not just think about the fact everybody knows your family. So if you screw up,
everybody knows
everybody's
what you've
going to be there
done.
to help make sure get you back on track too.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brighter Together podcast. My name is Janet Courtney, and my special guest today is Nancy Popp. Nancy is the superintendent at Granton Area School District, and that's in Granton, Wisconsin. Nancy, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me today.
So, Nancy, tell people a little bit about Granton Area School District and your role there.
So Granton is in central Wisconsin.
Okay.
And we're a very, very small rural school. So our whole population for our whole district is about 250 kiddos. So that's for K through 12. And we have a daycare that operates here also it's pretty important to our community because as everyone knows, finding daycare services is very difficult. And so we have a waiting list for that too.
Wow.
But that's also very helpful to get us the kiddos who are there that move into our system because that they're already in the building and it's just helpful that way. So we have wonderful staff, pretty much a one track. So we have one teacher for each grade, which in our neighboring districts, some of them have two, some of them have three, depending on the size. We have still a lot of family farms, so some that are very large in the community. And we have a lot of Amish folk who have moved in and have taken over some of those family farms too. So that's been a change that's made enrollment different for us because those kiddos go to their schools rather than coming.
They homeschool, right? They have their own.
Yeah. So there's a lot of buildings where those kids go to, depending, I guess they kind of switch depending on which family is supporting the school for the year or for the coming year.
Yeah.
So
See, I don't know that much about that. I mean, I've lived around the Amish, but I've never really been like closely interacting with them. But I know that, it's a whole different way of life for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
it sure is. Yep.
Yeah.
But they're very good people in the community.
Oh yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. Human. They're human beings. Yeah.
Mhm.
And just like everybody else, they're human beings. Absolutely. So you have one building or do you have more than one building?
We have one building.
Yeah.
So, but elementary, we have two floors in the elementary. Classrooms are on the bottom floor. The middle school and high school are on the upper floor. But then we share specials teachers. So music, art, phy-ed, those teachers are pretty much K-12, which is, to me is powerful because they have to be ready to go with any age child.
Yeah.
For myself, who taught in high school English for many years, that I always find it awe-inspiring that they're ready to switch from one level to the next in, just a matter of a few minutes. So.
Yeah, and it is definitely, you can get into a little niche in education and this is my box. And then you come to someplace like that and it's like your box just got a whole lot bigger.
Yes.
Even though the number of kids that you saw might have gotten smaller, the responsibilities that you have to cover got bigger. So this is the same thing when you start a company. Believe me, I was an SLP and that's what I did. And then I started my own company because that's what God wanted me to do. And I'm like, I don't know how to do this. And I am, 8 years later, we must have figured it out, right? We all figured it out.
Right.
So what would you say are some of the draws to Granton and why people come there and come to your school?
I Actually, one of the main things that I hear is that parents do like the fact our class sizes are smaller. So
Mhm.
we have like when I started teaching myself, one of my biggest classes, I had 34 kids in one class. That's pretty uncommon anymore to have something like that, especially in this area. So for us, we have any place I would say from oh, maybe like 12, sometimes up to 22. It just
Mhm. Yeah.
varies based on what grade we're looking at. So, like this year, I think we have 18 graduates in our senior class. Last year, we had seven. So it
Wow.
can be really different.
Right.
But that is a draw because we are able then, you know everybody.
Mhm.
And I think that is the people in this community support, love the school, and amazing things happen because when you ask and you let them know that there's a need, people will come out and say, "Here, this is what I want to do for you. I don't want any credit. I don't want anybody else to know. Put this money on a lunch account. I want to support this kiddo." It's just amazing what
Yeah.
people want to do and the programs that they support. So even in other school districts where, maybe a program like music isn't going to go, we have people who want to support and make sure that we still have a music teacher and that we can still have band and choir because they just don't want to see music die, which I think is great. Um, and that's I think is a good thing, and sometimes it's a hard thing, but in a small community, everybody knows everybody. So
Mhm.
if you're in need, they're there to help. But I
Yeah.
always tell the kids, now just think about the fact everybody knows your family. So if you screw up,
Yeah, everybody knows what
everybody's
you've
gonna be there to
done.
help make sure get you back on track too. I think
Yeah.
that's one of the major things. And people just the people who are here have been here. Most of them have been here for a substantial time. And it's families that have been
Mhm.
generational on those farms that are still here and still want to support. So I think that's been one of the draws. And I also I'm live in a neighboring district, but my grandkids come here with me
Oh,
um,
fun.
just because they know my daughter knows what's going on in the school and
Right.
they know Nana's around to help, so
That's nice. That's so nice. I'm jealous. I don't have any grandkids yet. I want them. I keep telling my kids are 28, 26, and 23. And I'm like,
no.
I'm ready. And they're like, we're not.
Yep, yep,
Yeah. It's like, I get it. It's like, you're not gonna, you're not, I don't want them to just, you know, they need to live their own lives. It's just I'm ready to be a nana,
yes,
and I'm not.
yes,
So,
and
in
it's
God's
very progressed.
time. Yes, in God's
It
time, not
doesn't hurt
mine,
me.
right?
Mhm,
So one of the things that we talked a little tiny bit about, which when you live in a small community, there's still challenges. So what are some of
yes.
those challenges that I mean, there's challenges in every walk of education, but what are yours?
As some it's some things are every school district. And
Mhm.
some things, are unique based on the size. And I always find it for myself, you get really caught up in the grind of the day to day. And sometimes, as the superintendent, you don't have a person that you can say, "Hey, do you have 10 minutes so that I can talk through
Right.
what my day has looked like?" And a lot of times I find myself in that position, the sounding board for teachers or the sounding board for parents or my principal who comes in. So it's nice to go to meetings where you can find that there are other people who have the same issues and you don't feel quite so alone. Or
Right.
even a very large school has the same issues. It just looks a little different. For us, one of the big things that we do struggle with is getting staff.
Mhm.
So Wisconsin went through a, a a change, and I guess I'm a little bit biased because I would say it was a difficult change, where we went through Act 10 and we
Mhm.
wound up our systems look very different where you didn't have the bargaining and the unions went away. And then we had a lot of kiddos that decided, hey, I'm not going to school to be a teacher. There's no
Mhm.
money in that, which there was less money in the first place, but then it really looked like it wasn't very popular. And so in the universities, we just had a major shift of Like, when I started, it wouldn't have been uncommon for around here, even an elementary position, you'd get 100 applicants for it, and
Wow.
now, um, you're lucky if you get 5, and
Wow.
that's a substantial difference to say, "Okay, we want the quality, the very best person that we can get, yet how do you get that person when you're not getting all those applicants in?" Or they do come and they interview, and we're in a spot where a lot of people will drive to go to work, and it's not uncommon to have somebody drive an hour to go to work.
Wow.
So if you're living here and you get a job in Eau Claire, that job in Eau Claire is gonna pay more than what
Mm.
we're able to pay. So that's one of our downfalls is, we want to have the very best for the students, and that's always my goal with my school board and principal and my hiring team, but we don't always aren't always able to attract them and keep them.
Mhm.
Plus, we're in a spot where young people that we do attract maybe they don't wanna stay because they're looking for the ability to, go to concerts or have an art museum or have, different doctors that are available to them, and so they look for someplace that's closer to a city too. So that
Yeah.
is probably one of our struggles is recruiting and retaining, but that's a struggle throughout the whole state. Funding has been very challenging, and through no I'm not gonna lay blame on anybody, but when we look at the state and the federal governments who are helping and then withhold some help.
Mhm.
So this last year, we lost in state aid for my school district, we lost over $300,000 in state aid, which is a huge
Wow, when you have a school of 250 kids, that
that
hurts a
yep.
lot. Yeah.
That was huge to figure out, how do we explain this to the community? And then, because it's nobody's fault, they
No.
can't change it, we can't change it. But how it's funded, how they fund is very one large pot that they're putting the money in, and it gets divided up, and it doesn't change. And so that if there's
Yeah, I've
a
heard that.
large
I've heard that
a
about
large
Wisconsin,
bucket
there's a problem. Yeah.
yeah, a large
Yeah.
bucket that goes to Milwaukee, well, that really impacts us in the middle of the stage. We don't have that pull. So
Right.
that's been interesting.
There's a big difference between being supported by somebody who's walked in your shoes and someone who hasn't. At Lighthouse Therapy, our leadership team is made up of experienced clinicians who've actually worked in schools. We understand the pressure you're under and what real support looks like. That's why our therapy solutions, whether it be virtual, hybrid, or in person, are built with you in mind. No complicated systems or red tape, just streamlined support and seasoned therapists who are ready to make a difference. Learn more at lighthouse-therapy.com/brighter together.
And then the uncertainty of things with federal funding that's been coming in, that's been difficult too. Um, a number of students, the lower, people talk about enrollment. Well, we're lucky right now. I think our daycare is very much helping us because we are pulling some kids in. So we are really keeping our population growing in the elementary school. But people are having fewer kids. That's
Mhm.
just what it is. And you
Yeah.
can't change that either. And then people are able to go and open enroll to other schools
Mhm.
if they're looking for something that you don't have. So that's a lot that I brought up,
Yeah.
but that's,
No, it's the reality of what you have to deal with
yeah,
day to day, and year over year, it changes year over
yes,
year, and you never know. That's the beauty and the downfall of
yes,
education. It changes every single year.
yes. Well, and
Every
that's what I
single
tell people. I said, you can be prepared. What your day when I was teaching, I could say, well, here's what I'm going to teach today, but I was always ready to go, well, that lesson didn't hit today.
Mhm.
Or something happened in the community and you needed to jump in and do something completely different that you didn't, or your technology didn't work that day.
Mhm.
So you always have to be prepared to do something different,
Yeah. Yeah.
something
And
outside
that's
the box
yeah.
that you didn't think about.
That's education. That's
Yes.
education. Certainly when I'm as a therapist, as a speech pathologist, the same thing, you know. It didn't matter what I had planned for that day. You get in front of that child or you get that
Yes.
child to log in as we do. And you know your kids, you know your
Yes.
students, and you just go, "Whoop, not today. We're doing something different.
Yep.
What's going on?" You know, you can
Yes.
see it. And sometimes you just have to respond to the child differently too.
Yeah.
You know, what's going on with you today? Why do you look so sad? Whatever it is,
And I
so
think
yeah.
that's another piece that, as you bring up, that's really, really impactful, that's so hard for people to grasp, is if you've got a child, as we were talking about trauma-informed societies
Mhm.
and being ready with mental health needs, uh, I've told some people, the kid that comes in and then is throwing things or is disrespectful to you today that normally isn't, I said, "Don't take that personally. You have to think about
Mhm.
the fact that you don't know, was there a police officer at their house last night
Mhm.
because, dad got arrested and they're coming in all discombobulated,"
Right.
don't hold on to those things because we have children who are in needs that are unbelievable, just
Yeah.
unbelievable that you just, wanna love them and help them and do everything you can for them, and again, sometimes they will share and sometimes they won't, but it's so hard, and you just to find those resources
Yeah.
too. There's
Yeah.
definitely a shortage of those.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. And you do the best that you can with what you've been given, and I love that about educators, about the superintendents and the special education directors and the people that I've spoken to. And you're number 178, believe it or not. I've talked to a lot of people across the United States, and there are definitely themes and funding and the emotional piece of it. These are huge things that educators are dealing with every
Mhm.
single day. And kids don't want to be bad. They
No.
don't intend to be bad. They don't come in to be disruptive. They're reacting to whatever is happening in their world,
Mhm.
and their little brains don't always understand or even know how to deal with and rationalize what's happening. So unfortunately, we get the brunt of it, right?
Yep,
So,
yep.
yeah, I get it. Wow. Um, so, if you could fix just one thing in your world, just one thing, and it can't be money because we know everybody needs more money. But Nancy, if there's one thing in your sphere that you could fix and it would be gone and you would never have to deal with it again, what would that one thing be?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a hard question. This is one of my harder questions.
Yeah, but I do think that would be those things that are the unknowns. So if I could help every child that comes to those doors and know that they're coming in with enough sleep, that
Mm,
they were coming in with a full belly, that they were coming in with clean clothes, so that kind of that mental health
mhm,
piece, that trauma sensitive piece, if I could find a way to fix that, I think that would
yeah,
go so far because I would just love to see those things taken out of the formula for those children so that they would have the chance to do something different than what maybe has
mhm,
happened to them for generations, uh,
yeah,
because they deserve that. And I get tired, as you and I talked a little bit about, people who question how education works. I get tired of people doing that without that piece being one of the understandings that they have is, you know, you can't learn if your stomach is growling. You're
right.
not gonna be able to figure out how to do fractions if your stomach is growling and your head hurts because you're so hungry. And so if I could take that away, I think
Mhm.
go a long way.
Yeah, getting kids ready to learn. It's
Mhm.
so interesting over the years, that we've become the social services. Education
Yes.
has become the social services for all of those things because we do want kids ready to
Mhm.
learn. And in order to get ready to learn, you have to be fed, you have to be emotionally stable, you have to
Mhm.
be clean or not necessarily clean, but comfortable.
Yeah.
You have to be in a comfortable place in your own body. And when you don't, you take one of those things out, and then all of the other things that were happening before you got to school, turning all of
Mhm.
that off. I mean, even we as adults don't
Yes.
always turn that off. It just
Right.
is. It's such a hard thing, and you just look at it. It breaks your heart sometimes. It really
Yes.
does break your heart sometimes to see them not ready and not and knowing that it's like you can do everything. You can only do what you can do, but absolutely, I agree with you. If we could fix that and get them, because education is a key. It's a key
Mhm.
to the next whatever
Yes.
it is that that child wants to do and can become, and the potential that they can become.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I agree with you. Well, where, Nancy, should people go if they want to learn more about Granton?
Well, we have a website, so you can, if you wanted to find out about us, it's at um, Granton. I think it's I have. I'm sorry, I haven't pop up
That's
my
okay.
computer. I got umpteen things going on here,
That's okay. Let's
but yeah,
do.
you can just type in Granton, Wisconsin, and you'll get the school website.
Hmm.
You'll find out. You can go. We have a. I think the village also has a website if you wanted to look. Um, gives you a good background of the school. There's a lot of pictures, which I keep trying to get people to do more with, is tell how are we going to tell our story? And will we have the
Hmm.
ability to go to websites nowadays? It's great because you get the ability you get to go out there and say, "Hey, look at what's going on in kindergarten," and, "Oh, look at the senior class," and, "Look at this community project that you're doing," and that's just awesome to me. Like, we didn't have that when I was going through high school.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's really good, and we get a chance to show, and I think lots of school districts are doing a great job with that now. As I've, over the years, looked at going to different jobs, and that's one of the things you go and go
Oh,
see.
it's the
Okay,
first place you go is you
yes,
Google it, right? Let's
yep,
and it's so funny because Google has become a verb. We're gonna
yes,
Google it. It's
yes,
that's the beauty
yes,
of the English language. You can take any noun and make it a verb. But
yes,
yeah. So, and for those of you that are listening, Granton is
yep,
Granton,
yep.
Granton, Wisconsin. Well, Nancy, thank you for joining us on Brighter
Yeah.
Together. It's been a pleasure to have you. 2026 is just beginning. We're in January 15th of 2026 for those of you that are listening. But I just pray that you have a blessed rest of your year, and thank you so much for being on Brighter Together.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the time.